Nobody paid attention to the intern, not when he walked into the glass building carrying a worn leather folder, not when he took the last empty seat at the far end of the long conference table, and definitely not when the senior executives began whispering, "Who invited him? He's not even in a suit." HR must be getting desperate. The quarterly strategy meeting at Varelli Technologies was not a place for beginners. It was where decisions worth millions were made. At the head of the table sat Richard Cole, regional director, sharp smile, sharper ego. His cufflinks flashed every time he moved his hands. "Let's begin," Richard said confidently. "As you all know, we're restructuring the logistics division." Slides lit up on the screen. Numbers, charts, projections. Halfway through the presentation, a soft voice came from the end of the table. "Sir, I think there's a mistake in the third quarter projections." The room went still. Richard blinked slowly. "Excuse me?" The intern cleared his throat. "The projected losses in Southeast distribution are calculated using last year's freight rates. Those changed in March." A few executives shifted. Richard gave a tight smile. "And you are?" "Daniel. I joined last week." A couple of people smirked. Richard leaned back in his chair. "Daniel, you joined last week, and you're correcting a financial model prepared by our senior analysts?" Daniel swallowed. "I'm just pointing out that the rate index was updated. If we use the new numbers, the losses double." A quiet chuckle came from the right side of the table. "Kid probably watched a YouTube video," someone muttered. Richard tapped his pen against the table. "Thank you, Daniel. We'll let the professionals handle it." The room relaxed again. The presentation continued. But 10 minutes later, the CFO frowned at her tablet. "Richard," he kept speaking. "Richard." He stopped. "Yes?" She turned her screen toward him. The air changed. Richard leaned forward. "That's not possible." She zoomed in. The freight index updated March 12th. The projections are off by 48%. Silence. Every head slowly turned toward the end of the table. Daniel stared down at his notebook. Richard forced a laugh. "Well, that's why we have teamwork." But the CFO wasn't smiling. "If this had gone to the board tomorrow," she said quietly, "we would have approved a restructuring based on incorrect data." No one spoke, because that wasn't a small mistake. That was a career-ending one. Richard cleared his throat. "We'll correct it." A calm voice came from the doorway. "That won't be necessary." Everyone turned. The company chairman had entered the room, unannounced, unsmiling. Behind him stood 2 board members. Richard stood immediately. "Sir, we were just reviewing projections." "I know," the chairman replied evenly. "I've been listening." The room tightened. His eyes moved slowly across the table. Who identified the error? No one answered, until the CFO lifted her chin slightly toward Daniel. The chairman studied him. "You," he said. Daniel looked up startled. "Yes, sir." "Stand." Daniel did. "How long have you been here?" 6 days. A murmur moved through the room. The chairman walked closer. "Why didn't anyone else catch it?" No one had an answer. Richard attempted one. It was a minor oversight. 48% is not minor, the chairman said without raising his voice. Silence fell again. Then something unexpected happened. The chairman smiled, just slightly. "Daniel, correct the model." The room froze. "Sir?" Richard asked. "You found the problem," the chairman said. "Present the corrected strategy." Daniel hesitated. "Right now?" "Yes, right now." The projector remote was placed in his hand. The same executives who had laughed at him were now watching him stand at the front of the room. Daniel adjusted the slides. Calmly, carefully, he walked through the recalculated projections, explained the long-term risk exposure, suggested renegotiation strategies, outlined a more profitable alternative expansion route. 10 minutes passed. No one interrupted. When he finished, the room was silent for a different reason. The chairman nodded once. Well done. He turned to the others. This is why arrogance is expensive. Richard's jaw tightened. The chairman continued. Effective immediately, Daniel will assist directly with board-level analytics. Gasps. Richard blinked. Sir, he's an intern. For now, the chairman replied. Then he looked at Daniel again. Who recruited you? Daniel hesitated. My mother suggested I apply. A few confused glances. The chairman's expression shifted. And what does your mother do? Daniel's voice stayed steady. She's Elena Vargas. Silence, because everyone in that room knew that name. Elena Vargas, founder, majority shareholder, the woman who built Varelli Technologies from a 2-room startup into a global logistics powerhouse. Richard went pale. The chairman didn't look surprised. He looked satisfied. She wanted to see if anyone here still values competence over appearance, he said quietly. No one dared move. Daniel stood there, no longer invisible, no longer the intern, just the calmest person in the room. Richard attempted a smile. Well, that certainly explains. It explains nothing, the chairman interrupted. Then he addressed the entire table. Respect is not a title, it's a discipline. His gaze settled briefly on Richard, and some of you have forgotten that. No one laughed now. No whispers, no smirks. The meeting resumed, but the power had shifted completely. And as Daniel returned to his seat, he didn't look smaller anymore. He looked like someone who had just decided the future of the company. Because suddenly, this wasn't about projections anymore.